On May 1st, our Governor-General received the high honour of Dame Grand Cross of the Order of St. Michael and St. George at the historic Buckingham Palace in London. It was a befitting honour for a woman who has dedicated her entire life to nation building and to helping the Bahamian people. Since then, she has kept a very busy schedule as Governor-General, leading straight into our independence celebrations. As we prepare to now celebrate 51 years of independence, we thought it a befitting honor and a timely conversation to speak with our Governor-General. Today, we're going to talk about that historic day at Buckingham Palace. Also going to talk about what she's been doing as Governor-General, and certainly no show about independence is complete without reflections on 51 years. Stay with us. Our special edition of On the Record begins right after this. And this is On the Record, and tonight we are very pleased and honored to have as our guest the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Dame Cynthia Pratt. Your Excellency, welcome to On the Record once again.
Thanks for having me, Jerome.
You're probably, or you have the distinction of being probably one of our most frequent guests, but each time you come, you're in a different role.
Yes.
And so we're happy to have you now as our sitting Governor-General. Let's begin with talking about what it was like when you first learned that you would receive the Dame Grand Cross of the Order of St. Michael and St. George.
It was very humbling at the beginning. One of the things I think that crossed my mind was my husband and how he supported me. And when I got the call, I couldn't help but to think about those persons who were there for me. I did not do it because I wanted some praise or glory. I served for those many years, decades as a matter of fact, wanting to help my people. And so the honor that I received was because of the people. And so today, I'm grateful that I was able to receive this award, but at the same time, remembering the Bahamian people.
You became Governor-General, and within a year you are named Dame Cynthia Pratt. The first time that was said to you, how did you feel? Well, you actually heard it. What went through your mind at that point?
I think, Jerome, one must think about, firstly, where you've come from. Humble beginnings. Sometimes you're sitting there wondering, I never thought this would happen for me. But what was important about that was the fact that I was able to witness this with my children. And so they saw, and they were able to stand on the campus of Buckingham Palace. That spoke volumes. And so I'm thankful that I received the honor, but I want to wear it with pride for the Bahamian people, for them to know that they are a part of it.
Displayed right next to us are two photos that you recently received from the palace, yes, from your time there. And there are two distinctively different photos. There's one with the princess and one with His Majesty the King.
Yes.
Take us through these photos and what happened in each of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I entered Buckingham Palace, first of all, I was first in line. I think there were about 100 persons who was going to be on it that day. And when I got there, everybody knew my name. They could tell me about myself, you know.
The people of the palace.
Yes. and I could, I mean, everyone, because there were different stations that you had to go to, and they would say to you, okay, you had to be here 5 minutes, then and 5 minutes on the button you had to move on to the next person, and they would tell you what to do, how to curtsy and all that, and they'd guide you through it. And when I got to the queen, not to the queen, to the princess actually was presenting the awards because the king was still convalescing, you know. And so when I got to the princess, she started talking to me because she loves the Bahamas. And she took so long, the staff was saying, well, what is happening? Because we were chatting about the Bahamas and she wanted to know how things were going here. But it caused me to recognize that they appreciate my country. And she took time to speak to me that she didn't take for the other 99 persons who were there. And so I think the fact that I was able to communicate with her just for a short period, and my children were standing at the doorway, and they allowed them to see when I received that honor. And that spoke volumes for me. And then I went on to the king to have an audience with him.
So let us now talk about your audience and your conversation with King Charles, a member of the royal family who has had such a rich history with this country, dating back to independence. But what was your conversation like with him?
Well, certainly, as I said earlier, it was a humbling experience for me. And he was so delighted to see me. He welcomed me, you know, and it really, I had to choke back the tears because I am actually in Buckingham Palace talking with the king. And at first he was surprised that he said, "You were so full of life." So I guess he had expected, if you said mother, it might mean that it's an old person. I just assumed that. But we certainly had a wonderful time, and the history in Buckingham Palace, the rich history. And I can recall as a child singing, "God Save Our Gracious Queen" at the time. And just to know that I'm now standing in Buckingham with the king on the campus. So it was certainly a pleasure for me.
Do you think particularly young people understand, or I would say appreciate, the connection that we continue to have with the royal family, with Buckingham Palace? And in your own experiences, you know, Princess Anne visited the Bahamas, I think it was in 1977, participated in the opening of Parliament. Then the king, who was a young prince, came as a part of our independence, initial independence, presenting the instruments of the Constitution to the then Prime Minister. Do we, you think, still have that appreciation for the connection the royal family specifically has to the Bahamas?
I don't think that we really have it. As a matter of fact, the average students today know very little about Britain and what it means. And so I think that yesterday, when I say yesterday, I'm talking with my generation, we had an appreciation because they taught us from the British, you know, most of our reading utensils was British and everything, and that has changed. And so I think because of that, it's not really their fault that they don't know. I think it's the fact that it's not spoken of as often or taught in our schools like it used during the time when we were there.
Did you ever think as a little girl growing up that you would be standing in the palace of the king, whose mother at the time you sang God Save the Queen.
Gracious Queen.
God save our gracious Queen. Did you ever think, as a little girl, that one day you'd be standing in that palace?
No, not at all, by no means. You know, Jerome, I can recall when they had assemblies on Fort Charlotte. You probably were too young. And the Queen was coming. And so they would have us dressed in our little uniform, which was red and white at the time. And you're standing out there for hours waiting for the Queen. And when the Queen arrived, you know, she just waved once or twice. So we figured it must be more than that. but we were singing God Save Our Gracious Queen. And now I am sitting here, standing on the campus of Buckingham Palace, conversating with the King. That speaks volumes.
I know it was a private conversation, but is there anything that you can share with us?
No, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed
to. I can only ask.
Yeah.
In being in that space, though, what are some of the things, I think you spoke about the history of it, what were some of the things that really stood out to you, you know, in looking around and moving around the palace?
Really, Jerome, it was the rich history of Buckingham Palace, and it was well kept, and of course, the professionalism. Those persons who worked, everybody just worked on like a timely basis. You're here for 9 o'clock and not 8:45. They're there from about 8:30, and everyone is dressed, and they are prepared. And you can tell they must have already had information on you. And every one of those stations that I had to go to knew my name and knew about me. And so when they saw me, they said they called me by my first name. And so I looked around, and all of the mega pictures and the gold trims, you just said, wow. And of course, you know, they took me on a tour of Buckingham, and they took me in this wing where they said I'm the first person to go in there because they were renovating that, and only the Queen or King would go on the very little veranda, you know, where they wave to the people. They took me down, and I was able to just witness all of the, I mean, you look at the antiques and the, oh wow. It's just mind-boggling. You stand there, you said, look at this, gold trimmed everywhere. And you know, for the first time I saw a wooden elevator. You know, that was
a wooden elevator.
A wooden elevator. I said, wow, look at this. But it was quite an experience, Jerome. Quite an experience.
Listening to you talk about it, you know, is entertaining even for me, and humbling even for me just to listen to it. I can only imagine. How has receiving this honor really influenced your perspective on your role as Governor General?
Well, for me, Jerome, I wouldn't say it has changed me because of an award. I think I came in here with a mindset to serve the Bahamian people. While I appreciate the award, that doesn't change my prospect on life and what I want to do and to make a difference in my country. I think what it has done for me, it has given many young people hope that they can too one day emerge to this place. And so over and repeatedly I speak to young people, trying to encourage them that this is not just for me. It can happen for you too, based on what you want out of life. And so these are the things that I think would help people to understand that if God has called me to this place, He will also call you too. No.
I think that is a good place for us to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the highest office in the land and what all comes along with being Governor General. Stay with us. You are watching a special edition of On the Record in celebration of the country's 51st anniversary of independence. And we are back with our special edition of On the Record as we speak to Her Excellency, Dame Cynthia Pratt. All of our lives we've known you as Mother Pratt,
Yes.
and what you have meant to this country and to Bahamians.
Yes.
But this is such a different role for you in some ways. How much has changed in this almost a year that you've been in office, and what has been your most memorable time as Governor General so far?
Well, one thing, Jerome, I must begin by saying, Government House is different from the political arena. Okay, that is something I had to adjust to. In the political arena, I would go where I like, when I like, and do as I like. In Government House, there's a no. There's so many do's and don'ts. You can't do that and you can do this. So I had to adjust because I'm a people's person. For 15 years, I led my people in a constituency. They're accustomed to call, Mother Pratt, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
They don't mean any disrespect.
Mm-hmm. That's what they know. That's why I said we know you as Mother Pratt.
To change that overnight, it'll take time. And so I have to try to educate them because they will come to the house and they would shout for me. And the officers would say, you can't be here. And they say, what? I said I came to Mother Pratt. So I'm saying, I try to be patient with them because I too had to learn when I first came here that the system is totally different, okay? And I believe every Governor General who came in this place had to learn the whole system because you cannot, when people want you to come somewhere, you just can't go because they want you to come. A politician, I can go when they call me and I can come if I like. It doesn't work that way now.
But does that still allow you though to, I know you have a lot of audiences and people come, so are you still able to have that contact as Governor General?
Well, certainly, Jerome, because I found out that if I can't go to you, you come to me. And so the people are coming to me, and then I can speak to them and encourage them. And I can't get them in the large numbers, but certainly I've had so many courtesy calls since I sat in this chair. The sororities, the fraternities, the churches, the schools, the straw market vendors, the police officers, and the defense, plus the various schools, public and private, has already been
They all want to come.
They all want to come. And I'm excited about it because I think they expected when they come, you could see the fair. You know, they're at Government House, and so they don't. But when I'm through talking with them,
Sure.
they feel so relaxed, and they said, "Well, we didn't expect this," you know, because it's different.
The concept of going to Government House can be intimidating,
Yes.
especially if you've never been.
If you've never been, and so when they walk in, you can see the trembling, but then after a while they're relaxed because of my approach to them, to let them know this is your house, Government House is your house, and we go on and talk about things and try to encourage them, and whenever they needed to know something, they would ask. And they came in with their little questions. And what I did with some of the schools, I had them to bring your questions and let me answer. And I had some from the Family Islands already brought their schools. And since the short period of time I've been here, it's been many, many persons that I was able to speak with from this chair.
Has it been challenging in any ways?
Not really, not really. I think some of my style of doing things sometimes might be a little different from others, but I believe that I have a job to do. My time is not my own. We don't know if we'll be here tomorrow, Jerome. So do what you can while it is day, because the night will come and you can't do anything. But I'm saying that because God has placed me here, I am here to serve. I'm not here for the people to serve me. I'm here to serve the people. I am the voice of the King. So I have to bring what the King, bring his message to the people. And so I am just thankful, Jerome, to know that I am worthy to do this, because there are many others who could have been in this chair. And I see it as a season, Jerome. To everything, there's a season. That season will eventually come to an end. I don't care what you're doing in your lifetime, it is a season. And so I look at everything in life as a season. I'm here, I'm only here for a season. And so I'm going to do as much as I can in that season.
That season is allowing you to travel as well. I've seen you traveling and moving around. What has that been like for you to be able to go to some, I think, some familiar places, maybe even some new scenarios or situations? But what has your travel been like?
Well, it caused me to meet a lot of international friends, persons in government, persons who were interested in asking me about my life. As a matter of fact, a number of ambassadors already came to see me, and they wanted to know about the name Mother. And they were reading up on Mother, and they wanted to know when it all started. But what it did for me is caused me to learn more about people, different class of people. You have those in government, those in leadership, and it caused me to make friends, because those friends will be able to help my people. And that's what my aim and object is.
Are people still excited by the Governor General?
Well, for me, I can only speak for me. I've always been welcome with open arms. As a matter of fact, I've taken so many pictures, even up to yesterday. My face is almost set in water from the smiling, But Jerome, I'm so grateful, and I'm thankful to the Bahamian people for their support and the love they have shown to me.
One of the things that you always speak about is that you have that support across the political divide. Yes. And I know in other quarters you are welcomed, but the politicians it doesn't seem to matter what side they're on.
No,
they come and support and revere you.
Yes. I'm thankful for that, Jerome, because, I look at life in this vein. God has called me as a leader. Then I must lead. But I'm leading the people. I'm leading all of the people. And so what I do for all of the people. And I believe that the Bahamian people knows that very well about me, because no matter what side of the political divide, they would come to me and I would assist wherever I can. That's my life.
When you're able to travel or you go on your visits, what is the message that you're taking to the people you are going to see, particularly children? I see you're doing a lot of visits with children, but particularly what's the message to a lot of the kids out there?
Well, what I normally do, Jerome, is to tell the children my story. They must first know my story, because they see me here, but they don't know one time I was here. And they need to know that there is hope for them. My story has always been simple about me and where God has brought me, the path in which I've come. and the millions who are still down there, I want them to see there is hope. And if that God could raise me up here, yes, it can happen for you. And that has always been my message. I will not change that, Jerome, because there are too many children out there. They want to give up because they believe sometime because of their conditions, they could never make it here. But I live in those conditions. And so if I did, and God has brought me here, it can happen for them.
Well, very, very, very powerful. How do you balance your work or your ceremonial duties as Governor General with other duties? You spoke very passionately about having your children accompany you to the palace. I know that you have grandchildren. There's still the things that I know that you still enjoy doing. How do you balance the requirements and the responsibilities of Governor General with the other things that you also enjoy doing?
Well, first of all, you know, I've just come to this place, so I need some more time to do some more ceremonial stuff. But I've always been one who can balance my entire life. I can be a mother at one time, I can be a worker the other time, I can be a provider, and I can just set myself up. I still work the communities. I'm still going out there and doing things. Even though I'm not able to go, I would have people go to feed persons. I have a foundation. I deal with that now. But I can't in this chair. So I have others dealing with it to help those persons. And so whenever I had to do my office work, I know I set out my plan. Okay, I have to be thus and thus. And I would spend some time there. And then, of course, I'm still a mother. I still have a family. And even though they're all grown, I have grandchildren now. And they look to me for advice. Of course, you know, they look to you for money, too, you know. So don't forget that, you know. And so sometimes when they come to me, Jerome, I would say, you look broke. And I say that, yes, Grammy, I am. Yeah. So, you know, they think that Grammy don't notice these things.
Trust me, I know. I had grandparents. I know exactly what that was like. An unending supply.
Yes.
But you're still able to do the things.
I am still able and function all at the same time and really be successful, too.
What advice would you give, even at this point, to future governors general, just based on your experience so far? You talked about a season, and after your season, others will come. Even at this point, you know, in office, what advice would you give to those who will follow?
Well, Jerome, you know, I'm really standing on the shoulders of two great women who sat in this chair prior to my coming. Ivy Dumont, Governor General, former Governor General, and Marguerite Pinling. Those ladies paved the way for me. And so from what I've seen, they accomplish, then it's now my turn to try and accomplish what I can. And so all I'm going to do is do what I can to make this country better, because while they were here, they did what they could. And they moved off the scene, and time will come, it'll be the same for me.
All right. Well, we are at that point of another commercial break in our show. This show is really about independence, so even though we spent a lot of time talking about other things. So when we come back, we're really going to begin to focus on our discussion on independence, past, present, and even future. You're watching On the Record. We're back right after this. Welcome back. This is our final segment of our special On the Record, celebrating our country's 51st anniversary of independence. Your Excellency, tell us, what does 51 years of independence mean to you?
First of all, Jerome, I have to give thanks to God for allowing me to see 51 years. It means the world to me as a Bahamian. We ought to be proud to be Bahamian. The first time that flag was raised at Clifford Park, black, marine, aquamarine, and gold, demonstrating that we were a people, we can handle our own affairs. That spoke volumes to me. Because there was a time when the Bahamas that I knew, you didn't know. Opportunities weren't there for us. And now that we have our future in our hands, that's what that flag meant. A people who is independent and able to handle its own affairs.
You spoke to the moment the flag came up.
Yes.
You remember that moment?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Sat there, my mother was alive. And then I looked at all of the people standing there. Most of them are past now, Jerome, but they saw it. They saw that we have the freedom to do what we want to do now. And because we are free, we can design a nation that is pleasing to all of us.
I hear you described it as designing a nation.
It's us that have to do that. It's the people that makes up the nation. We design it however we want to design it. If we want it to go contrary, that's how it will be. But it's us that must build. In other words, when I say design, I'm talking about building.
Do you think people still realize that we have an opportunity to build?
I wonder sometimes, Jerome, the way we act sometimes, I wonder. I think that, I hate to say this, Jerome, but I think that we are spoiled in a certain way because we have a lot of things now that we didn't have. I think we were more appreciative back then than we are now. And so when we look at our attitude sometimes, you start to wonder, is that a Bahamian? Because a Bahamian stood out. We were always a caring people, a loving people, respectful people. And sometimes you question that they can't be Bahamians because we're just not that kind of people.
I think we moved away from the things that made us.
Yes. Our communities have changed. The houses, not homes. It's a difference, Jerome. A home is where love is. A home is where God is. A home is where fathers were fathers and mother was mother. Children were children. A house is beautiful, gorgeous. But there's hatred in the house. Husband don't speak to wife. They live under the same roof. The children knows daddy and mom, and they communicate through the children. Tell your mommy I said that. Tell your daddy I said that. That's a house. A home is what we were accustomed to back then. Is when daddy spoke, nobody else would speak. And so that is why, if you go back to those days, when daddy was on the contract and mama had to run the home, mama raised boys. They grew up to be men. Men who were producing in this country and building this nation. But that's the kind of families we had then. We've changed a lot because we have a lot more sometimes as far as the economy is concerned. Some have a little more money than we had back then. Okay? Some of us now do not even respect the church. The church is the last thing on their mind. But the sad thing about it, that's in the home. because dad don't go, mom don't go. And so it's a thing of the past. So that is why the children have gone contrary, because the love is not there any longer. The love for nation, the love for God to begin with, and then the love for nation.
Obviously, we have some problems, some things we're still working on.
Yes,
but what do you consider to be some of the most significant achievements in the Bahamas in the past 51 years?
First of all, I'm so proud to see that education has just mushroomed, where Bahamians now, even if you don't have the money, you can still go to a school, you can go to university now. We have a university where, in fact, there are opportunities to attend those schools. And if you notice that our children are now involved in so much, even internationally now, okay? And so we have achieved much now as compared to yesterday. One of the things I'd like to see is that we would focus more on people than on things. You see, if we would focus on people and try to get people right, the country would be right. But what has happened to us, things is what we are all concerned about, and not people. And so I would like to think that one day we will recognize that we're going the wrong way when we forget that people is who God, Jesus died for people, not things. And so our country, we always saw our country as where God lives. We knew Sunday different from Monday. We knew that. We didn't have a choice, because our parents was raising us in the fear of God. It is not so now. It's not so now.
One of the achievements you mentioned had to do with education and
Yes.
having a University of the Bahamas.
Yes.
I know that one of the earliest focuses of the then government was to educate Bahamians and educate them on a tertiary level.
Yes.
I know that through the policies of an early pending administration, students were being sent off to
Yes,
colleges and
right.
universities
Right.
abroad. And I reference that to reference the portion of your life that really helped to give a lot of Bahamians an opportunity for tertiary education, to receive a university diploma, to be able to educate themselves and to come back and to help build a nation. Why was that so important for you on a personal level to see to it that many Bahamians received further education?
My love for country. My love for country, Jerome. That's the first thing. If you're going to run a country, we need educated people to run a country. And I know that many of them did not have the wherewithal to go to a university. And I felt that if I can get as many as I could, because an opportunity came for me, and because that opportunity came for me, I was able to open the doors and keep them open for other Bahamians to go through. And many of them, as you know, ended up some millionaires today, Jerome, doing well, have their own business, helping to build this nation. That was one of my dreams, but we can come back home. While we appreciate the fact that they have given us an opportunity with a scholarship, there is a country waiting for you. We must go back, because there are many who want that same opportunity. So we can't shut up our bowels and say, I've got mine now. You have to open the door, hold it open. Now, the only thing I said to them, I cannot force you through. I have the door open. You must walk through it yourself. And so when most of them returned, few stayed in the U.S., but today I'm so proud of so many of them that's doing so well. And these are people that help to lead this country. It doesn't have to be in politics. They lead in medicine. They lead all kinds of professions, you see. And so the other day I spoke to a young lady. I mean, I didn't even remember her. And she said that I took her. She was among the group that I took to college, and she's holding a position, and I didn't have a clue what she was talking about at the time, Jerome. You know, because all I want to do is to get another one in the door. You know, make something of your life, and then see where it goes from there. And that is why I continue to push. And God had given me favor with the institution, with the president, with the vice president. And they saw, they saw something in me. They trusted me, Jerome. And I came home and got my people. They gave me funding for scholarships. I could have given them to Americans, but I returned home. I'm going to get as many as my people educated. That's the bottom line.
How do you see the role of our young people today in helping to shape the future of this country? Mm-hmm. During your time, you helped a lot of young people, myself included, go off, come back, establish the country. And you're talking for the period, I think, between the 80s and 90s and even into the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. But a lot has changed. Mm-hmm. How do you see our young people now helping to shape the future of this country as another generation is preparing now to lead?
Jerome, first of all, you must, if you're going anywhere, your future depends on where you begin. And what I mean by that, if you plant a seed, that seed will eventually grow into a tree. Okay? Our young people today, most of them wants it now, but they don't want to work hard to get it. You see, some of them cannot take disappointment. Sometimes you're going to be disappointed. But if you're building, you have to be patient. You have to wait your turn. But continue to persevere. Because my generation is going downhill. This country needs that younger generation to help and build it. But at the same time, you have to know what it takes to build a nation. And once you get involved with like young people today, some are interested in public life, wanting to enter public life. But there's much come with it than just wanting to get there. Mm-hmm. You see, you have to have, of course, respect. Okay? I know you have resilience and all that. Yes, you're fine, but at the same time, you must wait your turn and speak to those who've been there so that they can guide you. But some of our young people do not want to wait their turn. And because they're in a different season, they don't want to talk to somebody who's older than them. Well, this is our time. But you see, it had to start somewhere because we are building for you to carry on. And so it's different today than it was yesterday, but it's going to even be different at their time if they stay around that long.
You mentioned just standing on the shoulders of those who move. We all stand on the shoulders of those who've come before and have provided something to us. What is your message you'd like to convey to Bahamians as they reflect on 51 years? Last year, there was so much attention to the 50th anniversary. So now we're 50 plus one, moving into now another stage of development. What's your message to Bahamians on this independence, a thing that you want to stick with them, no matter the age, young, middle-aged, beyond middle-aged?
You know, first of all, I want to say to my people, you are Bahamians. You live in the Bahamas. Much is dependent on you. I would like to see my people unified. A people who thinks alike. When I say think alike, as Bahamians, there are some things we just don't do as a Bahamian. I want us to get that kind of reputation where they single out Bahamians because we're a people who always concerned about our character. We just didn't do anything. We did it with style. And our country is a country of Bahamians who they can go anywhere because they have their freedom. And so I'm saying to my people, let's bring back that country, bring back that Bahamas that we once knew, where we can walk anywhere at any time, and you don't have to be worried about being attacked by anything. As a people, many nations would love to be a Bahamian, to live in the Bahamas, many. And I'm not sure, Jerome, if my people realize how blessed we are as a people. Jerome, we dress well, we eat well, we live in some of the best homes. You understand what I'm saying? We have freedom to go where we like. We don't need a license to keep church on the streets. We're free. We're a blessed people. We have the most beautiful country in the world. I'm wondering if my people realize how blessed we are. And so until we go back, because we used to know that one time ago, if we must go back, my people, because I need you, you need me. We're all a part of God's body. The Bahamas is a free country. Bahamians are Bahamians. We enjoy everything in our country because this is home. This is home. And I would like to see our young men, be depending on you, young man. You got to build this nation. You must build it. Don't destroy it. If you destroy it, then what? Then what? We have nothing. This is home.
Your Excellency, I think that's a good place for us to end.
Yes.
I think you have left us with so much to think about. You've shared so much of your journey in this particular setting. You know, as I said, you've been with us before, but I thought it important to speak to this time, you know, and the importance of everything that has come to you thus far. I want to thank you, first of all, for agreeing to do this, to give us this interview. I want to encourage you to continue the great work in this role. I think out of all the things that you have done, of the many things, the Bahamian people in the Bahamas will really remember you for the work that you are doing and will continue to do in this office.
Thank you so much.
The hope that you've inspired in so many Bahamians, that if you can find yourself in this place, any one of us, any one of us with just the right attitude and dedication and hard work and focus on the people.
Well, Jerome, if I may just say something before we close. I want to congratulate you on the work that you are doing. Young people, this is what I'm talking about right now. Young people building this nation. You're a young man who started out. This couldn't have happened in other countries. You have opportunities. These young people here are gifted and talented. And I'm so very proud of you. And I want you to continue. Don't become discouraged. Sometimes, I know it's a little rough sometimes, but that's all right. But hold on, because many are depending on you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I take that to heart. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, happy Independence. Thank you for being with us. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much. We're going to have some closing thoughts in just a moment. This has been our special edition of On the Record with our esteemed Governor General. We'll be back for closing right after this. As we conclude this special edition of On the Record, a heartfelt thank you to our guest, Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Cynthia Pratt. Her story is one of resilience and demonstrates the indomitable spirit that really makes us all Bahamian. Thank you to her and all the best. That concludes this special edition. We want to thank you for joining us. Until next time, I'm Jerome Sawyer. This is On the Record. Happy Independence.